Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Our first story brings us to a living situation that should have been perfect until the landlady's daughter decided to turn every day into a one-woman opera of chaos. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. POV. You live next door to a human fire alarm who thinks she's a performer. This is a story about my landlady's daughter. I live in a room with a private bathroom off of their home, and it's a pretty convenient setup. I'm almost never home other than to sleep, so generally the little annoyances don't bother me. But holy hell, I want to throw this girl into a bag and drown her into the river. She's 19 years old, living at home while she takes some time off from college. Okay, pretty reasonable. I've been there before. Except she acts like a 5-year-old. Her speaking voice is at best a yell. At worst, it's a demon screech from hell. She likes to hang out in the room directly next to mine and scream full volume at her mother pretty much every day. They're not normal arguments either. Her mother's always very calm and reasonable, while this girl just throws tantrums like a child because she doesn't like what her mother is making for dinner or her mother isn't paying enough attention to her. Just really the kind of stuff toddlers enjoy complaining about. Normally, I just tune it out, but I work an overnight shift on the weekends and have to catch up on sleep during the day. Unfortunately for me, she has the weekends off, and it seems like they are her favorite time to scream for hours on end. This girl also fancies herself a singer and is trying to get herself into a performance art program at some college. She's applied to a bunch now, I think, and she likes to practice for her auditions again in the room right next to mine. Her voice literally sounds like a dying cat, hence the river drowning. Of course, if anyone tries to give her constructive criticism, she just shrieks, so they let her be. Now, recently I've heard a lot of sobbing from her because she's starting to get rejection letters from the colleges she's been applying to with these horrible auditions. I normally try to keep as much distance from her as possible, but her sister and I are friends, so when her sister is visiting from out of town, this girl will invite herself along on our plans, and since we don't want to listen to her scream, we just let it happen. On one of these outings, I learned that she's also a dancer. I figured we'd finally found some common ground, so I asked her what style she's into, and she says ballet, modern, and tango. I don't know much about the first two, but I'm a competitive international ballroom dancer, so I tried asking her what style tango she dances, assuming she probably also dances the other dances in the style and just mentioned the dance she's working on. She just met me with a blank stare and repeated as if I were a 5-year-old that she's dancing tango. Didn't I hear her? So I elaborate, asking if she means international or American, and she starts to get PO'd, saying that she just dances regular tango. Apparently, she just walked into an Arthur Murray dance studio and told them she wanted to dance tango, and because it's Arthur Murray, they charged her an absurd amount of money for their studio gear and just started teaching her some unidentifiable form of tango. At that point, I was just like, oh, okay. But I had already set off her rage, so she starts shrieking, asking what I even know about tango. I reminded her that I'm a ballroom dancer, and her response was, I don't dance ballroom, I dance tango. Aren't you effing listening? We just don't really speak anymore, and yet the headache just from listening to her in the next room never seems to go away. OP tried to be kind, find common ground, and got screamed at for it. At this point, all I can say is, bless you. You need noise-canceling headphones, earplugs, and a priest. I hope her next audition is for mime school, because silence would be her greatest gift to the world. And our second story. Dear X, enjoy HBO, Showtime, and your massive cable bill. Started dating at 15, moved in together at 18, and within 6 months of living together, she cheated on me. She owed me something like $800 for 1 month's rent and for a vet bill I paid for. We still lived together for 6 months after we broke up, because despite me being able to move back home, she expected me to move out and also continue paying my portion of the rent. It sucked, but it sucked less than paying for her to have her own place. The TV/internet bill was in her name. We had cable. The fact that she owed me money was documented via email. I very strategically sent many emails asking her to confirm that she was aware she owed me money and how much. I also asked if we could just deduct my portion of the cable bill from the debt she owed me. On the second last month of our lease, she was hounding me for my portion of the internet cable bill, about $30. Wouldn't take no for an answer and threatened to not pay and have it turned off. Had another roommate in school who needed it, so I paid my part. By this time, she was staying with the man she cheated on me with, so she wasn't really around ever. For some reason, when she moved all her stuff out, she left the cable box and Wi-Fi router, I guess assuming I was still paying for or using it. I brought my own TV to use after her and her new boyfriend came in one day and took hers without saying anything while I was actively watching it with a Tinder hookup. That was an awkward night. Edit, to be more clear, I meant it was her TV they came back in and took, like I brought in my own TV after they came to collect her TV. It was just awkward that I was actively watching her TV when they came to get it. I knew I was never getting my money back, so I had an idea. Buy every channel that exists, all extras I could buy, just with the 4-digit PIN. Before this, I emailed her one last time saying something like, just to confirm my portion of this month's bill will be subtracted from X amount you owe to me, correct? And she agreed. These purchases began a week or two before I moved back in with my parents. I bought every channel individually, bought and rented movies, kept track of everything I purchased, and racked the bill up to almost exactly how much money she owed me, leaving a bit of space in case I miscalculated, about $750. When she got the bill, I was back with my parents. She came to my parents' house, bill in hand. My father answered the door, meekly saying something like, OP spent so much on this bill, I can't afford it, to which my father responded, use the money you owe to pay for it, and closed the door on her. I was listening and out of sight. Whether or not she ended up having to pay, I'll never know. But it felt good to do it at the time. Edit. Fun detail I'd like to add here, they were engaged to each other after 2 or 3 months. They're still engaged to this day, 4.5 years later, still not married. She's pregnant with his child. Edit, for anyone who sees this in 2025, they broke up. She just had his baby. She's now a single mother to the child she had with this man she cheated on me with. Not sure who broke up with who, but that crap is hilarious. Cable companies are pretty relentless in collecting what they're owed. If she was smart, she went on the payment plan and paid it off over time. But she doesn't sound smart, so it probably went to collections and on her credit report. And our last story. He destroyed our woods for safety. Cost him $34,000. I live on about 10 wooded acres in the Texas Hill Country, tucked just far enough off the road. A couple of years later, the development started cropping up around us. Suddenly, our private place ended up surrounded by cookie-cutter neighbors, all of whom seem to think rural means no boundaries. Most are fine if distant, but one neighbor, let's call him Rick, is not fine. Rick's a retired cop with way too much time on his hands. He lives directly next to us, and from day one, he's been a little too friendly. The kind of guy who always happens to be outside when you're mowing or gardening and treats your casual nod like an invitation to unload his entire life story. Again, we tried to be polite, but the man has binoculars. Binoculars, and he's not shy about using them to check on things. The only thing that kept our peace was a long strip of dense woods lining our property line, thick enough to block the view between our houses during the summer months. In winter it thins out, but still offers enough privacy that I don't feel like I need to duck behind trees to water my plants. Then one morning I saw orange tape fluttering in the breeze. Dozens of trees lining the boundary had been marked like they were about to go under the chainsaw. All of them were on our side of the line. Rick texted shortly after, "Those trees are dangerous and need to come down. I'm happy to help. Got my saw ready." Right, generous guy. We replied that we'd rather have an arborist come out to assess them before cutting anything down. That didn't go over well. Rick launched into a tirade via text, now claiming the trees weren't dangerous to him but to us. "They're leaning toward your garage. If they fall, they're on you." Then came the winter logic bomb. "They have no leaves. They're dead. No need to waste money on an arborist." Sir, it's January. We removed the tape, restaked the property markers, he'd pulled some of them up, and made it clear in writing that he was not to touch a single tree on our side of the line. Then came the weekend. We went out of town to visit family, just 3 days. When we got back, I knew something was wrong before we pulled in the driveway. The woods were gone. Not all of them, but a swath, probably 60 feet wide, had been clear-cut along the entire property line. Trees, many of them healthy, lay in piles or had already been hauled off. The stumps were fresh, and Rick's bright red ATV tracks led from his side right into the destruction. I was so livid I couldn't even walk over there at first. My hands were shaking. It was our damn privacy, and he just helped himself to it. We immediately called the sheriff. Rick was smug when they questioned him, claimed we had agreed to it, said we were dragging our feet, and he was just helping to protect our structures. Fortunately, I'd saved every text, every time-stamped photo of our markers, and copies of the survey with that tree line clearly on our property. What happened next was oddly satisfying. First, the deputies informed Rick that he'd trespassed, destroyed private property, and could be charged with timber theft. Then came the county environmental officer. They took one look and flagged the site for illegal tree removal, soil erosion risks, and more. But we didn't stop there. We filed a civil suit. We hired an arborist to assess the value of the removed trees. Want to guess how much mature oaks and hardwoods are worth when they're taken down without permission? North of $25,000 in damages. Add in legal fees, court costs, and emotional damages. Yes, we made the case about the privacy loss, and the court ordered Rick to pay out $34,000. We also received a permanent no trespassing order, which included language that barred him from operating equipment or setting foot within 15 feet of our property line for any reason. And then we put up a fence. An 8-foot cedar privacy wall, stained dark with solar-powered motion lights, trail cameras, and native vines we're training to climb all the way up. It's gorgeous, solid, and has a locked gate at one end with a sign that reads, "Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted." Again. We still see Rick sometimes sitting on his back porch stewing, but now he doesn't wave. My only question is, where's the GoFundMe for a watchtower with a telescope pointed right back at him? Seriously, though, this is why you keep records, respect boundaries, and don't mess with folks who know how to play it smart. Rick learned the hard way that rural doesn't mean lawless. It just means you better read the room and the property survey. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.